Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. This is a Christmas edition. If you are on the road, make sure that you always do defensive driving, because most of the people they do drive drunk during these Christmas holidays. So you need to arrive alive. There is a message that I want to share with you, and it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nanshi, how are you? Can you please post my story as hidden identity? I am a Zimbabwean man that is currently staying here in Zim, but my story happened whilst I was still in South Africa. I used to be a mechanic. By the time when I went to South Africa, I was already a mechanic. So there was this other time when this other guy came to me, and his boss had sold him a Nissan Navara, which was still very good. It was in good condition, and it was being driven by a woman. So most of the times it was parked anyway. So when this guy brought the vehicle to me, he just wanted me to check some of the stuff to see if the vehicle was okay, and to double check, because he had not checked anything since he had bought it from his boss. And when I was looking at that Nissan Navara, to tell you the truth, I felt so much jealous in my heart. And when I went underneath the car, I was busy thinking of many ways that I could get this vehicle from him. So when I was underneath, that was when I saw a spot. It was a spot that had just little rust on the chase of the vehicle. And I said, you see, this is really dangerous. If you keep on driving this vehicle, then what is going to happen is that you are going to have an accident. So you need to sell this vehicle really fast. And I pulled some cables from the vehicle, which I knew that as a mechanic, that guy, he won't even notice, and he can drive it until he would have damaged the vehicle, and he would bring it back to me. And that is exactly what happened. As for some of the warning signs that were on the dashboard, they really did not matter that much, because they were just your normal warning signs that just needed a couple of repairs, and it was not going to be expensive. But to him, I told him that it was going to cost him an arm and a leg. And I told him that this vehicle which he had been given, it was basically just a lemon. He was supposed to sell it as quickly as possible. So he drove it back to me. And when he towed his vehicle back to me, that was when I told him that, remember, when you brought your vehicle to me, I gave you an honest opinion about the condition of your vehicle. I then said to him, as your mechanic, even though I cannot force you, but if it was me, I would not even keep this vehicle for any day longer, because the longer that you keep it, the more that is going to cost you, and you're going to sell it at the lowest price possible. So there was this other vehicle, it was a scrap. There was this other South African guy that had left his vehicle with me, and he wanted me to fix it, but he did not have the money to buy some of the parts that were needed. And I also wanted to rob that guy as well. So I then went to him and I said, there is this other guy that is selling his vehicle, and I want you to sell your vehicle to him. And he was happy, because he also wanted hard cash. So I gave him money, which was not a lot, the money that I gave to him. And I took that Nissan Navara from that guy whom I had just robbed. He did not even know that as for his car, it was worth a lot. It was still good. It was in good condition. It had never been involved in an accident. It had no dents or marks, and it had never had a respray. So I knew that the market value of that vehicle, with proper fixes, it was going to give me a lot of money. So what I did was that I did not fix it same time. I then pretended as if I was struggling with that vehicle, such that the guy who sold the Nissan Navara to me, he was even feeling sorry for me because I just parked that vehicle. I even removed the tires so that whenever you would come to my place, you would think that I was failing to raise the money that was needed. So he was the one who was thinking that he had robbed me, yet I had robbed him of that vehicle. After a couple of months, that was when I started to fix that Navara and I sold it. I sold it for more than 200% of the profit from the amount that I had used to fix that vehicle and the purchase price. The profit that I got at the end of the day, it was more than 200% profit. And then I robbed another guy, and I also want to let people know that this is happening in South Africa. So I learned about these other guys on Facebook, especially if you are looking for a vehicle on marketplace. This happens quite a lot. So what they do is that they will tell you that they have a vehicle that they are selling, and if you go to them, it's either they pull out their guns or they would make a transfer to you after they would have transferred the money to you. But when you would look in your account, you will see that there is nothing, and yet they would have taken your money and your vehicle and the papers for the vehicles as well. So this guy who was also selling his vehicle, I did the same to him. I contacted one of those guys and I told him that I had a friend who was selling their car and I wanted us to make a deal. And they said, okay, it's fine. We can see what we can do. And then we met and they robbed my guy. And as for my friend, he had no clue that I was the one that had led him into that scam. And when I saw that I had made enough money, Brother Nashi, that was when I returned back home and I started a business. But whenever I think about it, I just feel bad because of the things that I did. But in business, sometimes you have to do these things so that you can become rich. It is not my fault, but I was just doing business. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother right there. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. Let us try to speak with our DM brother in the comment section. He was saying that these things they happen in business. Many mechanics they do these things. It's either they keep your vehicle without fixing it, or they just make some minor fixes so that you can end up even giving up on your vehicle and you can sell the vehicle to them or to any of their friends. You were saying that this is what most mechanics will do if you are not careful. If you go around asking about how much is it going to cost you to keep the vehicle that you would have bought. He's saying that some of the people, they can give you a good advice, but then there are those that will pretend to give you good advice, but it won't be a good advice. Let us try to speak with our dear brother in the comment section. It is quite an evil thing that he did right there. Then there is another message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. The message, it reads like this: hello brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my story as hidden identity? I have come here and I have my confession that I want to share with you. And my confession, it goes on like this. So me and my husband, I can say that it's not me, it's my husband who did this. So my husband, he got this other Zimbabwean guy killed. This guy, he used to work for us. So when this guy was working for us, my husband, he already had a problem that he had, and the problem that he was having was that he was unable to satisfy me. I do not want to say a lot because it will seem as if I am disrespecting him. My husband, he died so many years ago after this whole incident had happened. And when he started to see the ghost of this Zimbabwean guy, we tried to go to different healers thinking that we might find help, but we did not get help at all. We just wasted a lot of money. That was all that we wasted. So this man, he was working at our plot. My husband had said that we should buy a plot, so we bought a piece of land, and then we looked for a person that was going to work for us. The first man that was working for us, he came from our village, but then he started to cause a lot of problems. He was always drunk. There were times when he would just leave the gods without anyone taking care of them. So we did not want that much problems. We wanted someone who was going to be reliable. And then we found this guy who was a Zimbabwean guy who started to work for us. And as time went on, we were experiencing some problems in our marriage, and I was not cheating on my husband in any way or form. So one day, another guy from work, he started to make some moves on me. I really do not know how he got to know that I was craving for love, because it had been almost 2 years. My husband's manhood was no longer working at all. This happened after he had an operation which was not related in any way to his private part or his genital area. But then his manhood stopped working totally. Even if he would drink those sex pills, nothing will happen. So we were told that maybe it was because of some of the antibiotics and some pain medication that he started taking soon after that operation that started to cause all of those problems that he was going through. And as a loving wife, I understood, and I made a vow to myself that I will never cheat on him, because I loved him with all of my heart. So, my brother, then my husband, when he found some messages in my phone of this other guy at work, he was not proposing love to me, but my husband, as a man, he said, this man, he wants to get in your pants. And I said, so what am I supposed to do? And I blocked him. But my husband later on, he then sat with me down and he said, my love, I know that it has been a very long time. I just want to know, how are you handling this situation? I told him that it was quite terrible, because I also needed to be with a man sometimes. And since he was unable to give me what I wanted, but still I was okay with what we had. He had a good job, I had a great job, and we had some investments that we had made. That was all that mattered to me. So I told him. And then so he kept on telling me that even if I wanted some, he was going to understand me, because I'm a human being and it is not my fault that he was going through all of that. I should not blame myself. So at first, he was not open with me. He was shy to tell me that he wanted to give me the key to sleep with another man. So as time went on, that was when he told me that he wanted us to be in almost like a polygamous relationship. And I said, how so? You want to bring another woman in the picture with this condition, that woman, she won't be as understanding as I am. And then that was when he said, no, it does not mean that I will be bringing in some women. How about we bring in another man in this relationship? At that time, as a woman that had gone for more than a year sleeping with a man, craving for it, and by then I had already started watching some porn videos because it was too much. And in order for me to keep on an optimal level at work, I had to just see some people, just making love, because there were times when I would feel as if I am going bonkers, because I did not have a man to sleep with. So I understood him when he said that he wanted to bring a man in the situation. And I said, okay, what kind of a man are you going to be bringing into the situation? And then he said that the only person that he did not see as a threat was someone that was under his control. And I said, who is under your control? And then that was when he told me that he wanted me to sleep with the Zim guy who was working at our farm. And I said, oh, okay, but I never thought about that. He's not my type. I'm well educated. He's just a farm worker. He's nothing. All of this was something that I was going through in my mind whilst he was telling me. I even wanted to refuse, but my body just said yes. So we then started going to the farm, and every time when we would go to the farm, I would ask for that same guy to help me with something, and I would always be wearing these short mini skirts. And that guy, he would be looking at me, sometimes avoiding to look at me until I started going on my own. One day when I went there, I told him to go and bath. He did as I had instructed him to do, and I followed him to the bathroom. And then I told him that we're going to sleep together, and I already had some protection that I had brought with me. He was surprised, and then we slept together, me and that guy. So when I returned back home, I then told my husband that the deed had been done. He asked me if I had been satisfied, and I said yes. And he asked me how many times that I wanted to do it each and every week. I told him even if it is once a week, it's fine. But as time went on, I started to become addicted to that same guy. I will do it once a week, but then there were times when I would just rush to the farm during my lunch break because it was about 20 kilometers from where I was working. I would rush there, then I would sleep with him and rush back to work without my husband knowing that this was what was happening. And I also blame myself that this guy, he got killed because I stopped seeing or looking at my husband as a real man because I was getting it from someone else. I don't know how to properly explain it, but we started to experience challenges in our marriage now because there were times when I would just become rude to him, then I'll come back, then I would apologize, and I would have already hurt him about him not being able to satisfy me whenever we had a small argument. So this kept on happening until I heard that the same guy had died. I don't want to go into details, but I know that it was my husband who was involved in the death of that guy. We never committed suicide. It is impossible with everything that we had been planning because I was addicted to this guy. He was not of my class. He could not even speak proper English. I am a well educated woman, but somehow I was falling in love with this guy. How I fell in love with him, I do not even know. I was even thinking about having a child with him. And there was one day when my husband woke me up and he asked me if I meant what I had said in my dreams. I asked him, and he said to me, you have been thinking and you have been planning to be impregnated by that guy because you kept on saying, give me a child, mentioning that guy's name. So I knew that I was going to get that guy in trouble, but I never thought much about it since my husband was the one that had organized everything. So when this guy was said to have committed suicide, I knew that it was a lie. My husband is someone that was filthy rich. He did something to him, and the proof, I did not have physical evidence that I could have him arrested, but my husband, he started to run mad after that guy had gone to be buried in his country. The day when he was buried, after they had buried him, my husband, he started to go bonkers. He was running mad. I saw him he was shouting. He was in the vehicle. So I thought that maybe he was speaking with one of his workers or having a business meeting. I really did not understand what was going on. But then I realized that my husband, he was trying to speak with the man that he had just killed. He later told me that this was what had happened. He did not want to get into too much detail, but he got that guy killed, and I cried. I screamed on top of my voice. Later on, my husband passed away, and he was seeing the ghost of that man. I also see the ghost of that guy to this very day, Brother Nashi. I have tried to go to different witch doctors thinking that maybe they might assist me, but there is no one really that is willing to help me. Sometimes I can get someone that will say that I am going to help you, but like the way that they would want to help me, you can just see that these people, some of these people, they just want to take advantage, to sleep with me, or to demand a lot of money after I would have refused and said that no, I can't sleep with you. So this is my confession. When you post, please tell me. I'll be following through in the comment section. I am looking for a healer that can assist me. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. Let us try to speak with our dear sister in the comment section. Strange things they do happen in this world. She is saying that she ended up falling in love with that guy, and this made her husband to kill that guy. Let us try to talk with her in the comment section. She is saying that she is looking for any help from any sangoma that might assist him. Strange things they do happen in this world.